Hello and welcome to the first of these 4 short videos about the sample OTBI dashboards and reports that I've posted on Customer Connect. My name is Caroline Gladwin and I work as a solution consultant in the Oracle UK HCM team. In this first video we're going to be looking at how to download and install the content. We'll then be looking at the structure of the content before finishing off by looking at how you can configure the content to work with your data. So to be able to use the pack of sample OTBI dashboards and reports, you need to be on Customer Connect. Just search for me and you'll see it as one of my posts. You'll notice below that there's a post about the talent review meeting and also a few OTBI hints and tips. I only mention those at this stage because I'll be referencing them later in these videos. To download the sample information, simply click on the posting and you'll see here all the information that you need. So what's in the pack, understanding about its purpose, and also some information about the look and feel of the dashboards. In order to use this content, you need to make sure you've downloaded all of the documents attached to the posting. Once you've done that, you can then begin to think about importing them into your Fusion environment. So you can see here in my file manager, I've downloaded all of the files that I need. I've also unzipped the sample catalogue files, and we can see here there are 2 files which contain the content that we're going to bring in. As well as those catalogue files, there is also a brief guide to the OTBI dashboards. I'd recommend when you have time that you take the time to read through that and actually get some more information about these samples and how they are built. All of the information I cover in these videos is briefly referenced in these guides. As well as that, there's also the ad hoc workshop. So if you have any employees that need to get to grips with OTBI and are fairly new to the product, they'll find that the workshop gives them some hands-on exercises to get them up to speed. And again, I'd recommend that you go through that to understand more about the techniques that we cover in this video. Once you've downloaded all the files and you've unzipped the catalogue files, you're ready to bring the content into your environment. You need to be logged into Fusion as a user who has access to be able to unarchive BI content into the web catalogue. If you're not sure, check with your administrator to make sure you have this capability. To bring the content in, you simply need to highlight the custom folder, which is under the shared folder, and choose the unarchive option down below. The first file to bring in is the one called sample content v1.catalog. So highlight that and click on Open and then OK. The content may take a few seconds to come into the system, but once it has, it will create a folder called sample content, and we'll be taking a look at that in more detail in a second. We now need to bring in the second folder, and that's to do with the dashboards. So this time, highlight the dashboard folder under the custom area. Now if for any reason you don't seem to have a dashboards folder, it may be one of 2 things. It may be hidden, so have a go over here at checking the box on saying show hidden items to see if you've got the dashboards but they're hidden away. If you still can't see a dashboards folder, then a quick way to create it is to highlight back on the custom folder and choose to create a new dashboard. That will automatically create you the dashboards folder that you need. Once you've got the dashboards folder, highlight it, click on unarchive again, and then bring in the second file. This one's called sample OTBI dashboards v1.catalog. Again, click on Open and click on OK. Once that has been brought in, you'll notice under your dashboards folder that you have a sample OTBI dashboards area. So that finishes the first part of this video, which is about downloading and installing the content. We're now going to move on to the second topic, which is looking at the structure of the content so that you can understand what it is that you now have. I mentioned that the dashboards come into the sample OTBI dashboards folder. If we expand that folder, you'll see that the dashboards have a number of different pages. In the samples, they're arranged in functional areas, so things like absence or organisation structure or profiles. But there's nothing to stop you at a future point in amalgamating the information and making it cross-functional, for example. Now, in terms of the content that's displayed in each of these pages, That's held within the sample content folder, which is now created under custom. Within here, if you expand the sample OTBI dashboards, you'll see that there's a folder for each page in the dashboard. So if, for example, I want to see the reports that are on the absence page, I can open up that folder and have a look at all of the different reports that are made available to me. And it's the same for all of the other pages, so whether it be the headcount, or the performance, or the profile page, you can simply click on that folder and see the reports. Now, many of the reports used shared filters and conditions to update their information based on the dashboard prompts. So you also have a folder called Subject Area Contents, and that's the one that holds the definition of all the different filters, and they're grouped according to the subject area that those filters relate to. Now, the final piece of content that you have in here as well is the worked examples for the hands-on OTBI workshop that I mentioned earlier. So if you do have people that are working through and picking up skills in OTBI and want to check the answers that they've created, then they can use this OTBI hands-on folder to have a look at those different reports. Now, if at any point you want to know which report is on which dashboard, if you go back to the sample OTBI dashboards and choose to edit any of these pages, so for example, if I edit the organisation page, then I can see the layout of the dashboard and I can quickly find which reports are displayed on which dashboard. So for example, I might want to have a look at this headcount breakdown report. So I can click on the XYZ icon and it will then, if I choose Edit Analysis, take me straight to the report which is displayed on that dashboard. So that's another way of understanding the link between the content that's provided and the dashboards that are displayed. So now that we've got the content on the environment, and we understand its structure, we're able to move on to the third part of this video, which is about configuring the content to reflect the data that you have. So what we need to do is we need to go up to the dashboards and have a look at them. So if we choose the dashboard link and choose Sample OTBI, then that will bring us into the dashboard pages. Here we can see the basic structure of all of the pages. So we have the prompts down the left-hand side and we have some information on the right-hand side that relates to the selections that have been made. Now, in some of these pages, the selections on the left-hand side have been hard-coded to demonstrate the intended use of that page. So some of the configuration we need to do is to go and update those hard-coded values to reflect your data. The first tab that we need to do this on is the Absence tab. So here we can see the absence page, and you'll notice down on the left-hand side, the absence types are hard-coded to some specific values. These won't reflect the values that you have, and therefore to update that, you simply need to go to the top right-hand corner and click on the Edit Dashboard link. This will allow you to access the prompt and update the values. So here we can see the prompt absence on the left-hand side. Again, we just choose to edit that, and then we define the new default values. So here is the definition of the prompt, and it is the absence type that we want to update. So I highlight that and choose to edit it using the pencil icon. If I open up the options, we can see here the default values that have been selected. So if, for example, I wanted to either add or change these values, I'd simply highlight them and maybe delete one, and then I can use the plus button to add a different one in. So I may have defined a new absence type, and I want to select that in as my default value. So I can come in here and I can either search through the list of values that are available, or I can do a search using the box at the top to limit the choices. I want to add in this Sick Progress UK absence type, so I'm going to select that, click on OK, and say OK again. If I now save this dashboard and go back to have a look at the data in it, then you'll see that what I now have is an updated default set of prompts which reflects the data that I have in the system. So we can see here on my absence types that I've now got selected the 3 updated values that I just chose. You'll need to do that for the 6 absence types that you have in your own environment. Now you need to go through a similar process with 2 or 3 of the other pages. So the other 2 tabs that we need to do this on is the Skills tab and the Talent tab. So here we can see the Skills tab, and again on the left hand side we've got hard-coded some competencies. The idea of this page is that it's been designed to only show somewhere around 10 to 12 different skills or competencies. If you have a need to display information about hundreds of different competencies, then I'd recommend that you redesign this page to reflect that volume of data. But if you're happy to limit yourself to between 10 and 12 competencies, you need to follow the same process we just looked at to go through and choose those competencies as the default selections for the Skills dashboard prompt. The dashboard page will then be updated to reflect those new selections. The same thing will happen on the Talent page. So the Talent page is all about talent review meetings. By default, it's been limited to 1 or 2 specific talent review meetings. Again, you'll need to update this to reflect the talent review meetings you're running within your organisation. But please note that this page has been designed with the performance versus potential layout in mind. And therefore, if you have other types of axes that you're using in your talent review meetings, again, you may want to think about redesigning this page. But if you have performance and potential review meetings, then just update the defaults on the left-hand side in the same way that we saw earlier to reflect that. The other thing you might want to do in this page is to bring in the talent review report that's on Customer Connect. And I referenced this earlier on when I was showing you the content on Customer Connect. So if you wish to use that report, then please download it and follow the instructions and video relating to that particular report. If you do that, then you may well end up with a dashboard that looks like this one here, where that new report has been imported in. So here we can see that this dashboard now has the 9-box layout and the ability to drill down to detail on the different talent areas of the organisation. So we've now done the first part of the configuration. We've updated the selections on the dashboard prompts. If I return to our sample set of dashboards, you could go through the same process on any of the other tabs. Although the values aren't hard-coded, you could choose your own default selections if you want to. You may also need to set up some data for the succession page. So the succession page is based on the fact that you have marked some of your jobs as being critical to the organisation. So we can see here that the information has been retrieved for those jobs that are marked in that way. We can see a count of the total number of critical jobs, as well as information about whether or not they have a plan, if they have a plan, whether they have candidates in it, or if there's no plan at all. So if I just switch to the Fusion applications, I can show you where that data is set up. We can see here, if I go to the navigator, that I'm able to go to the profiles relating to talent. If I choose the link to profiles, it will open up the page which will allow me to search for those key jobs that I want to flag as being critical. So I choose the job profiles, and then I can do perhaps a standard search or an advanced search for the jobs that I'm looking for. So I'm going to look for things like the chief exec. If I put in the search string of chief, then it will return all of those types of jobs for me. And I can then drill into that information, and I can then set the content type called criticality to say that that job is a critical job. The key thing is that you've switched on the radio button down here for yes against requires succession planning, because it's that piece of data which then drives the content in the OTBI dashboard. The very final piece of configuration we need to do is to update a couple of the reports to reflect some of the links. So if I switch back to the dashboards and move on to the Profiles tab, I can show you an example of this. On the Profiles tab, and the same is true on the Absence tab, there are some reports which have links to allow you to drill across to the Person Gallery. We can see here the report called Assignment Details and Drill to Person Gallery. This Go to Portrait link needs to be updated to reflect your instance name. In order to do that, we first of all need to find out what the link is to your Person Gallery. So if again I return back to the Fusion environment, then we can see here what I need is the first part of the URL. So for me, it goes all the way from ADC across to .com, and I need to just highlight that and copy it. If I then return to the interactive dashboard and edit the dashboard, I can go and update my report to reflect the actual location of my Fusion instance. So we can see here the report is called Assignment Details. Again, all I need to do is edit the analysis. Once the report is open, then I need to go to the Advanced tab to enable me to quickly update the links that are within the report. So when I open up the Advanced tab, it shows me the XML definition of the report. Now, it's not one to be concerned about in terms of it looking a little bit complex. It's actually very simple to update this. So if I just open up a notepad, I can paste in the part of the URL that I just found. What I also need to do then is return to my Analysis XML and highlight the whole box. So I need to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the box and highlight the whole of the definition. Once I've got all of that information, again I can copy that and bring it into my Notepad session. So we can see here I've now pasted it in. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to take the updated URL that I've just found from my own environment, and I need to replace the URL that's currently in this report definition. And to make it easier, what we've done in these sample reports is we've put the URL as being xxx.com. So if you do a quick search, you'll find that that string is available in the XML code. So all we need to do to update this report is do a find and replace of xxx.com with whatever your particular URL is. So I'm just going to do that and click on Replace All. Having done that, all I need to do is reselect the information in Notepad, copy that, and then replace the information that's currently in my report with that updated definition. So if I paste that in and then click on Apply XML, what I now have is a report which, when it drills off to the person gallery, will take me to the particular instance that I'm running this on. If I want to see if that's working correctly, then I can say, show me how the results will look on a dashboard. It will display me the updated report, and then when I click, for example, on Amy Marlin's link, it will then open up her employee portrait. So you can see there, it's opened up in a new tab and it's displaying that information just for Amy Marlin. As I say, there's another of these links on the Absence tab, so you need to go through the same process for that report. So that's updated the links to the person gallery. The final thing we need to do is to have a look at a couple of the reports on the skills page, which use case statements and reference data that may be different in your own environment. If I return to the Profiles tab, then what I need to do is navigate to the Skills tab to enable me to update those reports. So here we can see the reports around the skills information. And one of the things we've done is to do a case statement to rank the different proficiency levels according to the numeric rating system. So 1 for advanced, 2 for expert, and so on. Now it may well be that your rating systems are slightly different, and therefore you'll need to update both the text and also maybe the numbering that you wish to use. It's quite straightforward to do this. Again, you just need to edit the dashboard and go in and find that report. So I'm going to edit the competencies report, and within that I need to find the item that has that case statement defined on it. It's on the Breakdown tab, so if I switch to the Breakdown tab, then it will enable me to get to that proficiency item. So here we can see the information that we need to edit. If I go to the Edit icon just above the Proficiency column selector, then it enables me to get to the definition of that column. So here I can choose the Edit Formula option, and we can see here the case statement that we're using. So for me, my proficiency levels are advanced, then expert, then skilled, then intermediate, and finally foundation. But it might be that in your organisation they're different, or you have a different numbering system. So simply go through and update the case statement, and that will then be reflected in the reports. There is also a similar concept used on the performance document status, so you may want to update those ones as well. So that finishes this brief overview of how to install the content, how to understand the structure of the content that you've been provided with, and how to configure it to reflect the data that you have in your environment. You're now ready to move on to the second video around how the data is displayed.